You were born in the shadows, among the branches of an old forest, where sunlight rarely touched the ground. The trees stood so close to each other that it seemed the world was limited by a wall of bark and leaves. Here, among the whisper of the wind and the creak of ancient pines, your life began. Not in a house, not in a village, but where no one outside your clan family dared to tread. From the earliest childhood, you are taught the understanding of silence. Every movement, every breath mattered. A step must not wake a bird, must not break a branch underfoot. You learned to hear the whisper of leaves, to distinguish scents on the wind, and to sense the approach of other beings even before they appeared in sight. Your life was observation, training, and survival. The teachers, the elders of the clan, were merciless. At dawn, you rose when the fog still enveloped the land and went to training. At first, it was basic exercises, climbing trees, jumping from branch to branch, running along narrow paths, balancing on stones. Each skill was practiced until the body remembered it without conscious effort. But physical training was only a small part of the ninja's path. You learned to observe and understand people, to study their habits, thoughts, and fears. The mentors said that a true ninja wins primarily without fighting. An enemy caught off guard is already defeated. Secrets and information were weapons more dangerous than a blade. You remember your first missions. They seemed small and insignificant, but each was a trial. You had to infiltrate a village, gather information about merchants, assess the guards, and then return without leaving a trace. Your heart pounded, your hands sweated, but every step was precise and deliberate. In those years, you understood that fear is an ally if you learn to listen to it, not suppress it. Over the years, missions became more complex. Your first encounter with a real opponent came unexpectedly. You infiltrated a camp where several people guarded an important path. One of them heard the crunch of a branch. You froze. Your breath stopped. Time seemed to stretch. Then you realized for the first time that the ability to blend with the shadow and act instantly was not just a skill, but a necessity. The conflict ended quietly. Not a single scream, not a single sound revealed your presence. And you left the forest feeling something inside you had changed. Your ninja life was built on discipline and patience. You learned to wield weapons, short swords, throwing knives, nunchaku. But even weapons were only an extension of the body, an extension of the mind. The mentors said, a ninja is not a killer. He is a shadow that exists where there is no light and disappears before the light reaches it. One day, when you were 15, an event occurred that forever changed your life. At the border of the clan's territory appeared a stranger, dressed in strange clothing, with eyes full of determination and hidden rage. He moved silently, but you sensed his presence immediately. He was an experienced warrior, and he noticed you almost simultaneously. A brief but deadly duel began. You leaped between trees, using branches as support. His sword whistled through the air, knives flashed like shadows under the moon. Every strike was an attempt to predict the other's movement. In this chaos, you realized that your years of training were not in vain. The body obeyed the mind without hesitation. Every step and movement was precise. The duel ended with the stranger disappearing as suddenly as he had appeared, leaving only a sense of danger and respect for one who hid in the shadow. This encounter showed you that the world outside the clan was vast and dangerous. You realized that your training was only the beginning, and that a real ninja's life was a constant trial, a test of strength, mind, and spirit. From that moment, every mission, every reconnaissance, every night in the forest became not just duty, but the essence of your existence. Nights were especially hard. The moon hung over the forest, casting silver light on the ground, where a single wrong movement could reveal you. You learned to blend with the shadow, to become part of the night, and over time, the forest ceased to be just an environment. It became your ally. Every rustle of leaves, every sound of wildlife guided you through a world seen only by you. Your ninja life was continuous training, observation, self-knowledge, and struggle with yourself. Every day you faced a choice: act or remain unseen, use strength or cunning, trust yourself or doubt. You learned to make these decisions instantly because hesitation could cost your life. And so, step by step, day by day, you became not just a ninja. You became a shadow, part of the wind and the forest, a being whose life and missions were inseparably connected. And so, step by step, day by day, you became not just a ninja, you became a shadow, part of the wind and the forest, a being whose life and missions were inseparably connected. The world around you changed, but your goal remained the same: perfect yourself. Be ready for any danger, exist where there is no light, and disappear before anyone could understand your presence. Years passed. You were no longer the youth who first stepped through the forest, hiding in the shadows. Your body had grown strong, flexible, and enduring, your mind sharp and precise, and your senses keen as a blade. Every movement of yours was calculated. Every glance caught the slightest change in the surrounding world. You had become not just an observer, you had become action itself, the embodiment of darkness. The clan began sending you on more complex missions. These were no longer merely reconnaissance or minor secret outings. Now they were operations where your cunning and precision determined the lives of many. Sometimes it was peaceful villages that needed protection from outsiders, sometimes hostile compounds where enemies hid. Every mission was a trial, and every trial left a mark on your soul. One cold autumn evening, you had to infiltrate a mountain pass where a hostile clan held hostages. Snow had already begun to cover the ground, and every step left a trace. Carelessness could reveal you, and that meant death or failure. You moved quietly, like a part of the wind, gliding along the slope and hiding behind rocks. When you reached the camp, a living nightmare unfolded before you. Enemies patrolled with firearms and traps. You stopped, studying their movements, seeking weak points. You noticed a narrow path that could allow you to approach unnoticed, and with the step of a tiger, you began your way. Every moment was priceless. You infiltrated the camp using the shadows of buildings and trees, and soon found the one you needed to save: a child, frightened but unharmed. You led him to a safe place, but the path back was more difficult. The enemies had begun to suspect an intruder, and you had to use everything you had learned over years of training. Throwing knives, swift strikes, agile jumps. All of this had become your nature. But it was during this mission that you first faced an internal conflict. By saving lives, you realized you were also wounding or killing others. Every action, every moment brought the joy of victory, but also the weight of knowing that a ninja's life knows no simple moral boundaries. You learned to be cold, but inside, there was always room for doubt. After this mission, the clan sent you on a diplomatic task: to observe spies of another clan and prevent secret assassinations. This was a new game: stealth, cunning, and anticipating the enemy's moves. You infiltrated foreign settlements, disguising yourself as a merchant, healer, or sometimes just a shadow, passing unnoticed. You saw how politicians and leaders played their games, how words could kill as sharply as a blade, and this was a new level of danger. One day, while observing the enemies, you noticed a traitor within your own clan. This revelation shook you. The sense of trust was shattered, and the world you knew began to crumble. Now every mission became even more dangerous. You had to act without revealing yourself while figuring out who had betrayed the clan. You understood that your actions determined not only your own life but the fate of the entire clan. Over time, missions became even more deadly. You participated in night raids, infiltrated castles and fortresses, obtained secret documents, destroyed enemy plans, and returned as quietly as you came. Every mission was a lesson, every defeat, experience, every victory, part of your essence. One particularly dangerous mission was against a clan known for cruelty and cunning. You infiltrated their main fortress at night, using disguises and traps. Every step could cost you your life. Every mistake could lead to catastrophe. But thanks to patience and preparation, you achieved your goal and emerged victorious. These years taught you that a ninja is not just a master of the blade or agility. A ninja is a strategist, a psychologist, a master of disguise and foresight. Every decision, every thought, every movement mattered. You learned to see the world like a chessboard, where every person is a piece and every shadow is an opportunity. And yet, despite years of training and dangerous missions, a part of you remained human, remembering your childhood in the forest, the silence, and the first lessons from the masters. These memories gave you strength, reminding you that you are not just a weapon, but a human who chose the path of shadow. By the end of the second part, you had become a legend both within and beyond the clan. Your name was spoken with respect and fear. You were a shadow no one saw, but everyone felt. Yet ahead lay new trials, larger conflicts, betrayals, and missions, where the cost of a mistake was not only your life, but also the lives of those you were meant to protect. Years passed, and you became not just a ninja. You became a living legend. In forests, villages, and cities, people whispered about the shadow that appears and disappears, leaving only fear and respect behind. But fame was not your goal. You lived to be ready, to act when the world required your shadow, your determination, your cunning. New missions were more dangerous than anything you had faced. Now enemies awaited you, aware of your reputation, anticipating your movements, setting traps. You understood that every mistake could be your last, and every victory only a temporary shadow of success. One of the most challenging tasks was confronting a clan attempting to dominate the entire region. Their strategy was cunning, hidden assassinations, attacks on peaceful settlements, bribery, and espionage. Your mission was to infiltrate their center, discover their plans, and neutralize the threat without causing full-scale war. Infiltrating the enemy fortress, you noticed their preparation was perfect. Traps, guards, alarms, everything calculated down to the smallest detail. But you knew your strength was in the shadow, in speed and precision of decisions. Every movement, every glance, every pause was part of your strategy. Inside the fortress, you faced the enemy leader, a martial arts master equal to you in skill and agility, but unaware of your cunning. The fight was instantaneous. Strikes replaced dodges, jumps replaced traps, and moments stretched into eternity. You used everything learned since childhood. The force of the wind, the darkness of the forest, the quiet whisper of the night. Victory was achieved not only physically, but mentally. The leader fell, realizing that the opponent was not just a master of the blade, but the shadow itself, existing where there is no light. At that moment, you understood that the path of the ninja is not only strength and skill, but also the ability to understand the world, anticipate actions, and use every opportunity to protect those in need. After this mission, it was time to return to the clan. You were no longer the young ninja who first hid in the forest. You had become a symbol, embodying discipline, wisdom, and cunning. But fame did not change your essence. You still valued the silence of the forest, continued to observe and listen, and prepared for any trial. Sometimes, when the night was especially quiet, you remembered your first steps, first fears, and first victories. You realized that everything you had done, everything you had learned, was part of your destiny. A ninja is not just a path. It is life, existence in the shadow, endless self-perfection, and the ability to act where no one else dares. And in this silence, you understood the most important thing. Being a ninja means being ready to disappear, yet leaving a mark that is felt but not seen, a mark that influences the world without demanding recognition, a mark that makes you an eternal shadow, part of the world that never knows your name, but always feels your presence. Thus ended the path of your life, the path of a ninja. You lived and acted in the shadow, but thanks to these actions, the world became a little safer. You remained unseen, yet your influence was felt in every corner where light and darkness collided. And when one day you stepped once more into the forest where it all began, you realized darkness is not the enemy, but an ally. Silence is not emptiness, but the voice of experience. And your life is not merely existence, but a path that made you who you were, always meant to be. A true shadow.